I don't think we were all prepared to acknowledge as a possibility a few weeks ago. If you remember, when the Phillies went up to Citi Field, they looked like a lost bunch. They looked like a bunch of misfit toys that no longer had passion for the game of baseball, seemed to have had their talent stolen like the Monstars in Space Jam. It was like somebody grabbed Bryce Harper's bat and the Mets just took all the talent away. And this Phillies team looked listless. It looked lifeless. And you compounded things by the loss of Zach Wheeler. And you said, man, like if there were ever a time for this team to galvanize, it should be the series in New York. And it didn't happen. It was bad. And then if you've been following along with Fightin' Words, which you can find on all of the Joy Media channels as well, you'll know that last week Anthony Sanfilippo put out there, the Phillies are not going to blow a lead to the Mets. The Mets aren't going to catch the Phillies. And we said, oh my God, this could be it. This could be the thing that breaks the Philadelphia Phillies. Well, it didn't happen. The Phillies went out and put together an impressive series against a hated division rival, probably the most hated division rival in the NL East. And they effectively pounded the Mets into submission. And the good news, if you're a Phillies fan, is you're even closer to the Milwaukee Brewers than you were when the series started. And you might have put the Mets' playoff hopes not on life support, but you've certainly done a good job of putting your foot on the throat of the Mets. Remember last year, we had this conversation last year, down the stretch in the regular season and then going into the playoffs. My big issue with the 2024 Phillies is that they started off really hot. They went over to play in London. They were about a 500 team after that. And they did not put away the Mets. They didn't put away the Braves. And they just kept letting their NL East rivals hang in, remain in, and build some confidence. And when the Phillies went up to Citi Field and got boat raced, remember, like Kyle Schwarber was in the midst of like an 0-for-16 streak. It was awful. It felt like, oh my God, the Mets are going to get hot. The Phillies are finally broken because Zach Wheeler isn't going to be around, and maybe they've lost it. And then the Phillies lose Trey Turner, and on the same day that they put him on the IL, Alec Boehm goes out, and you start going, oh my God, like, what's this team going to do? Does this team have the requisite weapons? It's not like you can get bailed out by a trade deadline. It's not like there are players on waivers that are all-star caliber that you can just kind of go finesse and add to the roster and have be playoff eligible. Like that wasn't in the cards for this team. And yet they went out against the Mets and they asserted their dominance. And I know that it's kind of like a running joke on Twitter right now about how the Mets are such a great team at home and a horrific team on the road. And the questions are being floated out there about, are the Mets cheating right now? Is there something going on with the Mets this season to explain the home road discrepancy? I mean, right now, as of recording on Friday, September 12th, the Mets are 45-27 at home, which is a great record, 18 games above 500. On the road, they're 31-44. That's 13 games under 500. That, my friends, represents a 31-game disparity. That is gigantic. The chasm between being a dominant team at home and a piss-poor one on the road kind of makes you wonder a little bit. How bad is it? The Florida Marlins, who this season are 68-79, 11 games under 500. They're third in the NL East right now. They have more road wins, 34, than this massive roster, this massive payroll of the New York Mets, who only have 31. 31, by the way, home wins, has the Mets on par with the Nationals, who reside in the basement of the NL East, and only one win ahead of the Atlanta Braves, who are fourth in the division, who only have 30 wins on the road. Something just feels weird. Now, am I going to say that there's some cheating going on? Am I going to throw that accusation against the Mets? No, of course I wouldn't. I wouldn't do such a thing. Clearly, they're cheating. But their home record is significantly better. Now, the good news for the Phillies is not only do they have the most wins on the road in their division, they also happen to have the best record at home in the NL East at 49-23. And they did that largely on the back of being able to go out and pull off a 4-game sweep of the Mets. And there were some interesting stats. There were some interesting things that happened, especially in the finale against the Mets. Because if you paid attention, Jesus Luzardo had a very, very rough go to start. And then he really settled in. And it was actually kind of shocking how bad Luzardo was early. But then once he locked in, he was incredible. I think he retired 22 consecutive batters after giving up 4 runs and 5 hits in the first 6 batters he faced. So, like, here's a fun little stat. Jesus Luzardo against the Mets in the series finale, with the opportunity to kill any momentum that the Mets have, to kill any hope that the Mets might have of trying to get back in the NL East race, maybe even pick up a game and feel better about the wild card standings. Luzardo gives up 4 runs and 5 hits on the first 6 batters he faces in the game. After that, he goes 7 2/3 innings, allows 0 base runners. That is the first time, by the way, in Major League Baseball history. First time ever. 4 runs, 5 hits in the first 6 batters. Then you go 22 consecutive batters without getting on base. Bananagrams. And when you think about what this Phillies team could be going into the postseason, there's obviously the question about who ultimately is the third starter, right? Because we know Christopher Sanchez is number 1. We know that Ranger Suarez is a cold-blooded killer. He probably will be your number 2. And then the question is, all right, between 3 and 4, Nola has had a few moments where you go, okay, cool, like mix up, split up the lefties with a righty. Nola has some experience in the postseason. We all know that Nola can fall apart really quickly. And Jesus Luzardo had moments in this season where it looked like he was tipping pitches, but it's probably worth noting. Luzardo's only gotten blown up in 4 of his starts this year. He's got an ERA just over 4, but if you look at the rest of his starts, he's been pretty damn phenomenal. And if you're going to put him in as the 3rd starter in this rotation, or even the 4th starter in this rotation, it's a significantly different looking scenario for these Phillies than it was about a month ago. Because remember, a month or 2 ago, and even before Zach Wheeler got hurt, we were talking about, all right, which one is more likely to go to the pen, Luzardo or Ranger Suarez? And then when Nola came back and he looked horrific, the question was, oh my God, can they really go 1 righty with Wheeler and then 3 lefties and then send Nola to the pen? Could Nola be left off the playoff roster? Like, there were a lot of questions. And it feels like right now, everything is starting to come together. Now, I haven't been on Twitter a lot today because Twitter right now is just not the Twitter that I want. We can get into that later. But I was wondering how long it would take for a radio personality to throw out the idea of saying that, are the Phillies peaking too soon? Because it's middle of September. There are still games to be played in the regular season. They're hot now. They're playing well even without Trey Turner, without Alec Bowman, without Zach Wheeler. The starting rotation has stepped up in a big way. The bullpen looks lights out. And this lineup that we've had a lot of questions, comments, and concerns about feels like it's kind of hitting its stride. And we cannot move on from the Phillies until we mention, at least a little bit, Harrison Bader and what Harrison Bader has meant to this Phillies team. Make no mistake about it. You can go back and watch this show from around the trade deadline. And I didn't say that the Bader signing or the Bader trade was dog shit. It wasn't the impact bat that I was hoping Dave Dombrowski was going to go all in for. And I believe that there's a clip out there where I said something to the effect of, if he's even above a mediocre hitter, then that's found money. If he's even better than a replacement level player, Dombrowski will have done a pretty good job, but maybe not a good enough job to make this team a contender. Well, Bader's been phenomenal. He's been a great addition to this team. I want you to actually hear really quickly Bader after the game on Thursday, talking about what it's like to play in Philadelphia. Obviously, came from a town that has been hit or miss on the attendance, hit or miss on the playoff appearances. Let's go out to Bader really quickly. And I just want people to hear from his own mouth what he thinks of playing in Philadelphia and what it's like to play in front of these fans. Because, let's be honest, there is a certain endearing quality when an athlete seems to get it. All right, let's go out.
I played here as a visitor, but what is this environment been like getting to play on the home side?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's everything I've really kind of worked for and could ask for. You know, there's a lot of passion in the stands. There's a lot at stake, and I really wouldn't have it any other way. And I think it's just a great baseball city. So just to be a part of it, being dealt here in the middle of the season, has just been a blessing, honestly. And it's been a pleasure thus far, and I just want to make the most of it every single day.
The thing that I love about Harrison Bader probably the most is that he legitimately looks like he belongs on like Ken Griffey 94 baseball or something. Ken Griffey baseball for N64. That's what he looks like to me. He's been fantastic. So far, since being acquired, or since August 1st, let's go August 1st, he's hitting .339. He's got an OPS of .403, slugging .639. He's got 39 hits, 9 doubles, 14 RBI. He's had big moments. We talked about the fact that he's had clutch hits. He's had clutch home runs. There was a game where we actually bemoaned the fact that Bader was the guy who tied the game with a deep home run to left field, and then the high money guys, the big money guys, couldn't deliver and close that game out or keep the momentum going and pick up a win. Bader's been fantastic. There's no getting around it. Now, it's funny because going into the season, we all kind of remarked, how does Dombrowski not have Kyle Schwarber re-signed? How does he not have JT Realmuto re-signed? How does he not have Ranger Suarez re-signed? And now, it kind of feels like we have to have a conversation about Harrison Bader, doesn't it? I mean, you can go one of a few ways here. Sometimes fans get obsessed with a new signing who does really well in a very limited scope, right, in a very limited time frame, and they say, all right, give that guy multiple years. I think he was going to make $6 million. There's a mutual option for 2026. And like he's probably going to get at least $10 million a year, you would think now, maybe a 3-year deal, 4-year deal. Like he's going to cash in a big way. The defense has been fantastic. He's stolen home runs. It's amazing to see somebody who plays the outfield who defensively looks like knows what they're doing, and then also at the plate can perform, can get extra base hits, can drive the ball to the gaps, can hit the ball out of the park. Now, I don't want to overreact here, right? Again, all of those numbers were since August 1st. He's had a great 6-week stretch here, 6.5 week stretch. Would I go gangbusters and outspend everyone in baseball to keep Harrison Bader? Maybe not. But you at least have to have the conversation if you're the Phillies. I mean, Castellanos, you would expect is going to be gone after this year, right? Could bringing back Bader on an affordable deal make sense? I think it could. I think ultimately for Bader, he's looking around and he said, this is what you work your whole career for. This is what you try to get to as a player. You want to play in an atmosphere like this. You want to play in a city like this. You want to play in a baseball city like this, in front of fans like this. And so you don't want to overrate that experience that he's had so far. But if you get to the offseason, let's say Bader continues to produce well, regardless of how far this team goes into the playoffs, hopefully beyond the first round. It'd be great to get to a World Series, maybe even win it. If you have a positive end of the season and you have a series that ends it where either you win the World Series, you make the World Series, you go out, really fighting, I have to imagine that Bader's a guy that has endeared himself to some of the guys in that locker room. I mean, remember, Garrett Stubbs was a guy that this team did not want to send down because of vibes. Bader came in here and legitimately looks like a guy from a 90s N64 baseball game. And he just seems like he's a good vibes guy. And we know I've been one to say, I don't give a shit about your vibes if you can't perform. This dude is performing. He's taken a lot of pressure off of the rest of the lineup. And now when you're down Trey Turner and you're down Alec Boehm, it sure is nice to have a guy that you can rely on from that side of the plate. Just simple stuff. I like Harrison Bader a lot. I would say that it's probably worth a legitimate conversation about a multi-year deal, maybe around $10 million per. We will see.